I was pissed.
Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to know. Go ahead.
And then I tried to make sense of it. I still haven't been able to.
You consider a $300 billion so-called reconstruction
There is no
fund to
$300 billion.
this deal. I don't think in the immediate is helpful for those who are looking for a regime change.
Donald Trump is a product of TV. How did he become so popular? The Apprentice. You're fired.
Listen, it's all about money and power.
I don't know what else they need to show the rest of the world for them to be convinced that these guys will simply not reform themselves. And this is just another variation of the same cancer that's been plaguing the world for 47 years.
Out of curiosity.
Why do you call it Tim Melly?
Well, that's excellent. Okay. So you're... Hi there. We know where the $300 billion won't go. By now, you've likely heard about the new Memorandum of Understanding between Trump and the Islamic Republic and the prospect of a reconstruction and investment package to be given to the regime worth $300 billion. Now, maybe that money does not arrive. Maybe this deal does not survive. Maybe the number is more political aspiration than economic truth. Time will tell whether our outrage will go through the roof. But there is one thing we Iranians around the world know. We know where the $300 billion won't go. If this despotic and dysfunctional regime suddenly comes into possession of vast new resources, the fantasy is that rebuilding will soar. But we've spent the last 47 years watching what happened to the resources that came before. Iran is not a poor country. It never was. It's a country blessed with extraordinary natural wealth, vast energy reserves, a highly educated population, all the ingredients necessary for long-term prosperity. And yet, somehow, one of the richest countries in the region is struggling with water bankruptcy and environmental crises and aging infrastructure and economic devastation and communities that have too often been forgotten after natural disasters. Many of us still remember the aftermath of the Kermanshah earthquake and asking why reconstruction seemed to move so much slower than promises. We know where the $300 billion won't go. You don't need to wait for a UN committee or a plenary session. Here's a hint. The money will be used for all manners of repression. If decades of oil and gas revenue were not enough to solve these problems, why are we supposed to believe that another fortune will? We know where the $300 billion won't go. The Islamic Republic has already shown us what it does when money arrives. It builds the machinery that gives the regime multiple lives. It funds the security apparatus that intimidates, arrests, and imprisons its critics. It finances the propaganda networks that distort reality. It pours resources into regional proxies, ideological projects, military adventures, and the preservation of a system that has spent nearly half a century putting its own survival ahead of the aspirations of its people. Oh, and it executes kids. Remember this. When Iranian cities have struggled with water shortages, the regime had money. When Lake Urmia was disappearing, the regime had money. When earthquake victims were waiting for meaningful reconstruction, the regime had money. When young Iranians were leaving the country in search of opportunity, the regime had money. The issue was never that the treasury was bare. The issue was priorities and a regime that does not care. We know where the $300 billion won't go. That's why so many Iranians are looking at this Memorandum of Understanding and feeling something very different from celebration. Don't expect any of this cash to actually be about rebuilding a nation. It's June 18, 2026. This is Roqe. Hi there, welcome to episode 447 of Roqe Iran Rises. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. Hello to you from Toronto. Salam Dustan Aziz. Durud Basham. I hope you're doing okay wherever you are tuning in from around the world. This is a day of mixed emotions, to be sure, and not necessarily happy ones for Iranians around the world, waking up to the details of this new deal, this Memorandum of Understanding between Trump and the Islamic Republic regime. This is the 43rd episode in our Iran Rises series, and this one is entitled Memorandum of Undermining. We should note that we're recording this episode at approximately 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time here in Toronto on this Thursday, June 18th. This is evening time in Iran, and as always, we're sharing perspectives and conversations as up to date as humanly possible. We do our best to keep up to date and give you something that is up to date with the news, but things change so quickly, as you know. So there you go. There's your disclaimer. Before we get going, two announcements. I've been mentioning this since the beginning of the week. First, tickets are officially on sale, back on sale, for Roqe Live 6. So after having to postpone the event earlier this year because of the situation in Iran, we are thrilled to announce that Roqe Live returns Saturday, July 18th. That's 1 month from today, but it's a Saturday. Saturday, July 18th at the Richmond Hill Center for the Performing Arts. If you're not from the Toronto area, Richmond Hill is just north of Toronto. We encourage you to come to Toronto for the end of the World Cup and the Roqe Live 6 celebration. This year's lineup includes legendary singer and Roqe Media Icon Award recipient Shahram Shapare, Tina Parsa, Shali Zomaradi, Captain Christopher Behnam, Daryush Azar, Pega Ganji, yours truly as host. We'd love to see you there. Tickets available now. They're in the bio. The link to the tickets is in the bio on our Instagram page, or you can go directly to the website for the Richmond Hill Center for the Performing Arts, or just go to the Roqe Media Instagram page, hit the bio there. Secondly, with the FIFA World Cup happening, we are excited to announce that the Roqe Football House is in full swing. We've been at it for the last week, and for the next month, we'll be gathering football fans from across our community to watch matches together, share some food, drink, shisha, enjoy special guests and events, and celebrate the world's game. The Roqe Football House is based at the Cavalli Lounge in Richmond Hill. Admission is free, though you must make reservations. They're really necessary because it's getting full and some of the games are selling out. Full details can be found on our social media platforms, and you can find more also on our Instagram page or on the Roqe Football House Instagram page of its own. Now, coming up on this 447th episode of Roqe. So for months, many Iranians have feared this exact scenario, a deal that appears to strengthen the very regime millions have spent years opposing, a deal that promises sanctions relief, economic normalization, access to frozen assets, potentially hundreds of billions of dollars in investment and reconstruction funding, or whatever that money will actually be used for. So what exactly was signed? How significant is this agreement really? Is this merely a diplomatic framework, or is it the beginning of a new era of legitimacy and survival for the Islamic Republic regime? Why did so many of us Iranians wake up this morning feeling betrayed or disappointed or angry? And what does all of this mean for the opposition movement, for the future of Iran, and even for the ongoing debate around Team Melli and the World Cup this week? So join me for that conversation. Quite a panel today. Three familiar voices to our Roqe audience who I know will have a lot to say about all this. Near East Africa and South Asia expert Shayan Samii in Washington, D.C., political commentator and analyst Picasso Moin in Istanbul, and independent journalist and commentator Kiarash Kian in Toronto. All right, let's get to it. Let me tell you about Stellar Law. Today's episode of Roqe is brought to you in part by Stellar Law. Stellar Law is a boutique litigation firm based in Toronto, founded and led by Rana Nosrat Panah. This firm represents businesses and professionals in commercial and contractual disputes, particularly where relationships have broken down and the consequences are significant. Stellar Law's practice is grounded in careful analysis and strategic decision-making. Much of the work involves contract disputes, shareholder conflicts, and complex business disagreements that require both legal precision and practical judgment. Rana and her team are known for approaching these matters with clarity, focus, and a deep understanding of what is at stake for their clients. For those navigating serious disputes with real commercial impact, you need a lawyer? Check out Stellar Law at stellarlaw.ca. Thanks again to Rana Nosrat and the team at Stellar Law. If you are Iranian, do know that Stellar Law operates in both English and in Persian. So if you prefer to deal in the Persian language, you can do so. Thank you again to Stellar Law. And let me tell you about Quasar Homes. Today's edition of Roqe is brought to you in part by Quasar Homes. Quasar is a name synonymous with quality, detail, and innovation in Toronto's custom home building and major renovations. Founded and led by Amir Firouz, Quasar Homes has become a trusted choice for families who want exceptional craftsmanship and a seamless building experience. With a passion for creating homes that combine elegance, comfort, and functionality, Amir and his team continue to raise the standard of living for homeowners across this city. They are particularly committed to environmental awareness and sustainability. They also happen to be sponsors of the Roqe Media Icon Award, going to Shahram Shapare in a month from today. If you're in the greater Toronto area and you're looking to build or renovate, consider Quasar. Check them out at Quasar Homes on Instagram. Quasar Homes. All right, let's get to our panel today. As I was saying in the introduction, over the last 24 hours, the Trump administration and the Islamic Republic regime have signed a Memorandum of Understanding that could lead to sanctions relief, the unfreezing of assets, expanded oil exports, hundreds of billions of dollars in future investment and reconstruction funding, if that's what it's going to be spent on. And for many Iranians, the reaction today has not been relief. It has been shock, anger, disappointment, a feeling that a regime they believed was increasingly isolated has instead been handed a path back to legitimacy and survival. Whether that perception is justified and what it means for the future of Iran is part of what we will discuss today. Let's get to the panel. Kiarash Kian is an activist in the Iranian Canadian community with an educational background in political science and public administration. Kiarash was the host and co-founder of the podcast channel. He's now has a new channel called Yekta Uncut, where he makes educational videos dispelling the fallacies of mainstream media and challenging the narratives about Iran that come from a non-Iranian perspective. Kiarash joins us from Toronto. Picasso Moin is a popular athlete and social media star and an Iranian activist and commentator deeply engaged with the movement for change in Iran, particularly in interacting with voices and networks emerging from inside Iran as well as the diaspora. He has for years been doing a live online broadcast late at night that speaks directly to and with the people inside Iran. Picasso Moin joins us from Istanbul, and in the Washington, D.C. area, he is a U.S. national security analyst and a Near East Africa and South Asia expert specializing in strategic communications, a longtime journalist and media personality. You may have seen him on Persian news outlets such as Iran International. He's also been a regular for us here on Roqe since we began the Iran Rises series about 6 months ago. Shayan Samii joins us from Vienna, Virginia today. Hello to you all.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Hey, Jian.
It's not morning everywhere, but thank you, Shayan. It's great to have the three of you on, and it's kind of a I was going to say mixed emotions. I'm not even sure if it's a mixed emotions. It may be a somber day for some folks across the diaspora. Let me just dive right into this with a personal opening from each of you. How did you personally react when you first heard about this MOU, this deal over the last 24 hours? Let's start with you, Shayan, and then Picasso and Kiarash.
When I read about this, when I heard about this news, I was perplexed as to why or what is going on. What is Trump trying to accomplish? Is he stupid, or does he know something that the rest of us don't know? First and foremost, I want to mention of one thing. None of us here, at least I think I can say this on behalf of everybody, that we're not here to defend or dispel Donald Trump. We are here to discuss what it is that his actions means. The more I read the text of this so-called agreement, I realized it is solely for three purposes. One, keep the Strait of Hormuz open. Two, get the energy and oil flowing for reduced prices during the summer months of travel for Europe and United States. And three, get the economic wheels turning and the markets to react positively. That's it. Because the biggest concerns are nuclear issue, deferred. Missiles issue, deferred. Groups such as Hezbollah, deferred. So basically everything of major decision has been deferred. I go back to what I heard from Admiral James Stavridis, the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, who said this has enough friction points that could derail and dismantle the whole thing within a very
Okay,
short period of time.
Shayan, well, we're going to get into some of those details, but I think you've been doing too much Iran International, so you're used to giving the expert analysis right away. Right away, I would love to hear just your personal reaction. How did you, from an emotional perspective, what was your reaction? If you can put that briefly.
I was pissed.
Okay, all right, that's what I wanted to know. Go ahead.
And then I tried to make sense of it. I still haven't been able to.
Okay, Picasso.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that I was really pissed off. But the more I read it, the more I actually feel some kind of relief. Number one, we knew that our agenda and Donald Trump's agenda are not necessarily the same. We might, meet each other at some points. For me, he was never Uncle Trump anyway. I mean, I don't like the guy, but I liked what he did, what he was doing. And I knew that this is going to come, the moment that he stopped those attacks on the, security posts in Tehran, and he just pulled the handbrake of, the so-called, that 37 war, whatever that you call it, that we knew that he has other things or other plans in his mind. But when I read this so-called memorandum, there is nothing in it. And I mean, exactly, there is absolutely nothing in it. It's like they're just referring to next 60 days, and then it might even get longer, and then get longer, and there is nothing concrete in it.
You consider a $300 billion so-called reconstruction
there is no
fund
$300 billion. Where? No, there is no $300 billion. Who's going to pay that? Okay, remember Donald Trump in his first run as president? He came and said, we're going to build a wall between Mexico and USA, and the Mexicans are going to pay for it.
It's one of the terms of the deal. He signed. You're saying they signed a deal that
he said no. There is nobody is compelled to make that payment. They say they will.
Well, I suppose if they want to break the deal, I mean, are you actually arguing?
Who's going to pay that? I mean, who's going to? Because Americans are not going to. So they want the Arab countries to come in. I'm definitely positively sure that you're not going to do it.
Okay, so your initial reaction was, this is no big surprise, and you feel some sense of relief. You say.
Well, you see, okay, not a surprise. I mean, because we've been hearing about it, for I don't know, last 2 weeks, they've been just talking about it. If that would happen 3 weeks ago, I would get a heart attack, But now, yeah, actually, no.
Right, but as of I'm not going to debate it with you because I want to hear from Kiarash and I want to get into all the details. But as of 2 days ago, there were still people, I would say, among those who we would identify as people who've been very active, to try and for change in Iran, saying, "Don't worry, we haven't seen the details of the deal yet. Trump's going to surprise us, and it's going to be, something that I mean." There aren't a lot of. You're right that there's not a lot there, but what's there is not what I remember anyone saying we wanted. So let's be real.
It is a very fragile thing with two ends, and one end is Iran, and we do know that is a very loose end.
Okay.
You think that mullahs are going to give up uranium?
Okay. Let me hear from you, Kiarash. Your initial personal reaction when you heard about this deal.
Well, Jian, I always try to separate actually those two things, right? One coming from an Iranian perspective and being emotionally attached to this issue, and the other trying to look at the bigger picture and to look at the outside perspective that doesn't necessarily take into consideration what we take into consideration. So from an Iranian perspective, I felt sympathy for all of the mothers and fathers that had to go pick up their children's bodies from, not even morgues, just on the ground. Because every single day that, as His Royal Highness says, this is kicked down the road, we Iranians have to suffer. Every day we have to wake up with news of somebody else that's executed for simply protesting. We have to hear from our family and loved ones back home of how difficult life has become. So from an emotional perspective, of course, this is horrendous. Uh, but if I want to remove myself from that position, I would tend to agree with um, what my co-panelists here are saying today, that, America, President Trump and the international community, let's say, might have uh, different priorities in the immediate term. Obviously, the mullah staying in power is not going to benefit anybody. And it's a folly to believe that even if they remain in power today, that somehow they can be dealt with or they'll reform. I don't know what else they need to show the rest of the world for them to be convinced that these guys will simply not reform themselves. And this is just another variation of the same cancer that's been plaguing the world for 47 years.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all of that is well said. I think there is a difference between saying you can understand as a political science graduate why an American president would make this decision in this moment, given economics, given oil prices, given the unpopularity of the intervention, all of those factors. But you can make a distinction between that and what this means for Iranians around the world, even those who really, I would include myself in them, never, and actively said, we don't believe Trump really actually cares. This isn't about Trump caring about the Iranian people or that being his priority, but that in the last 6 months, the aspirational notion that this was going to be the moment, this was surely we can reflect on this moment today and say, it hasn't happened, and this deal is not helping it happen. Kiarash, would you not agree?
I would agree to some extent, Jian. But I will also say this. Let's look at it from another perspective. Their supreme leader is dead. A big portion of their apparatus is no longer capable of performing the same way that they used to. Okay. So there are some wins for the people. Sure, we don't have yet the final result that we're looking for, which is, of course, a complete dismantling of the Islamic Republic and a transition to democracy. But at the same time, we are a lot further ahead in this game than we were a year ago at this time.
I don't disagree. That's been my line. I just think on this day, 24 hours after this deal has been signed, I think it's fair game for us to say that this is not a good thing. We're not happy that a deal was made with the Islamic Republic regime, with by the way, the President of the United States, as he does with his bravado, speaking about these guys as his new BFFs. I mean, it's the whole thing is surreal as it has been in so many ways in the last 6 months. Shayan, I want to bring you in on this point that Picasso's making, because it's a big deal. This $300 billion cash injection that is about reconstruction. Can you clarify at all whether what Picasso's saying is the case or not? That this is not necessarily determinative, or that this won't be paid?
Sure. Will you let me read from the exact text?
Sure.
It says, the United States of America undertakes with regional partners to develop a definitive, mutually agreed plan with at least 300 billion US dollars for the reconstruction and economic development of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The mechanism for the implementation of this plan would be finalized as part of the final deal within 60 days or thereafter. All required licenses, waivers, and permissions needed for the relevant financial transaction will be granted by the United States of America. So, in essence, I think this is more of a wishful thinking on the part of the Islamic Republic than it actually happening, because they are saying, yeah, we will undertake the development of such a plan, but we're not going to fund it. If anybody wants to invest, sure, be my guest. Come and go, invest. You want waivers from us? We will grant you the waivers. But the issue is, who is going to invest in an Islamic Republic that has attacked its regional neighbors, has antagonized all of its relative regional countries.
But you just read at least 300 billion from the United States.
No, no, no.
Read
It
that
says,
again.
sure. The United States of America undertakes with regional partners to develop a definitive, mutually agreed upon plan with at least 300 billion US dollars for the reconstruction.
I see.
And
So the US dollars you're interpreting as they're just quantifying what the currency is going to be. You're not you don't
yes,
think that
yes,
okay.
yes, yes. Not
300 billion US
okay.
dollars sounds like it's 300 billion US dollars, but
I was
okay.
just reading the USD that they have there.
I see. Okay. I see. Okay. Okay. So you feel so what does that actually mean then? Are you saying, I mean, the reason I'm a little forgive me if there's an old it's an old Canadian term you'd say, a little shirty today. I mean, is because I'm a little tired of what I think has been a fair amount of faith that we've put in the, trust the process. I'm an Arsenal fan with our coach Mikel Arteta. We say trust the process. It took 6 years, but we won the title. I'm not sure about trust the process when it comes to Donald Trump himself. Not necessarily the people around him, not the partners, not the countries that were on side, etc. But I just don't know about trust the process. So the notion that we sit here today and go, actually, the plan is not this. The plan is something that I want us to be wary of.
Well, we shouldn't. We shouldn't trust the process of Donald Trump, but we have to trust in us, in ourselves.
Okay.
We are not sitting down there and putting our asses back to on the bench and wait that Donald Trump goes and win a country and then bring Prince Reza Pahlavi as transitional government, and say all right, here is your country, go and take it. No, we shouldn't. And actually, to be honest, we are not. I mean, of course, as they were bombing and they were you were seeing that this guy is dead, that RGC general is dead. We were thinking that maybe they will take it all the way. But actually, no, we have to do it ourselves.
For sure, for sure.
From the very beginning.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think anyone worth their salt in terms of the last 6 months, I think it's been an unfair characterization to say that anybody was saying, Trump is going to liberate Iran, that type of thing. It was always about the Iranian people, and and people are being massacred. We want help. Let's call for intervention. What I'm trying to say is I don't think this is helpful. That's all. And that I don't think giving. I mean, even as folks like Lisa Daftari who've been on this show in the last few weeks have been talking about how even the pause in the so-called ceasefire wasn't helpful in terms of giving the oxygen to the regime to sort of reorganize itself, etc. This deal, I don't think in the immediate is helpful for those who are looking for a regime change. That's what I'm trying to. I'm happy to hear if you disagree with that, Picasso.
No, actually, I agree with you. This is not helpful at the immediate thingy right now. Of course not, and it is even not meant to be. You see, this is something else, which is like a memorandum between a government that we oppose and a foreign country, and of course, it has nothing to do with us. Well, just the fact that, you asked me how I felt about it. I didn't feel anything about this deal, because just the fact that the president of the United States sitting and having a talk with this regime, for me, was a disgrace. That was like spit in our face. It doesn't matter what the outcome was. Just to sitting there and calling that, that this regime has changed. That was just a big disrespect towards all those people falling under brave people of Iran. So let's not forget about that. But I would take this as a heads up. I would take it as I think we needed that we should know that we have to take our destiny in our hands. We can't just sit back and you like wait and say like, come on, because people are actually talking rubbish. They're talking about arming the people. Like they're saying, arm us, give us weapons. Come on, what do you mean by that? That's like we have fantasies in our minds and we think about stuff and we are not actually seeing the real picture. And this might give us a heads up, like that to see the reality and act upon it.
Go ahead,
So
Kiarash.
okay, sorry.
Jian, I just have a question for you. So when you say, we don't trust President Trump or whatever, what choice do we really have? Like, what do you see our options? I mean, we as a people have been fighting this regime for decades. Okay, some people might have come to the conclusion later. Some people maybe, a decade ago might have still believed that there can be some form of reform with this regime, but now they've, sort of seen the light. But really, what choice do we have? I mean, the alternative from an Iranian perspective in the West is you have the Democrats that have historically just been helping the regime. At the very best, they've been ambivalent, and just not doing anything to stop them. But now that we, for once, had some leadership that, again, of course, they're not going to prioritize Iranian people's interests. It's always going to be America first. And this is not as a slogan. This is just a matter of fact. This is just international politics. Every country is going to prioritize their own perceived benefits. With that being said, again, I ask you, Jian, what choice did the people of Iran have than to
I don't
believe it?
I don't disagree with anything you just said. I do think that we should hold the Trump administration to the same standard that we hold the Democrats to. I mean, 4 years ago, I did an angry essay about Biden throwing a Nowruz garden party in the aftermath of Zan Zendegi Azadi. If the Biden administration had done this deal, what would you be saying? That's what I'm saying. The blind trust ain't going to work for us. We've got to be very clear. You're absolutely right that that in terms of what choice do Iranians have, particularly, I mean, that's been the argument for the last few months, particularly after the massacre. It was like status quo is not an option. Quiescence is not an option. I agree with you. But I also think we have to, I think there was a moment. Look, a lot of people I see in social media, et cetera, are sort of lampooning some of the folks who went out and said "Thank you, Trump" at in a couple of months ago. There, in the aftermath of the killing of Khamenei and the war beginning, and I think it's unfair in the sense that I think some of those folks were applying the same strategy that international leaders apply with Trump, which was that, you got to kind of cozy up to the guy and play to his ego and hopefully he delivers. So I think those kind of strategies or those kind of ideas are fair game for us to say, well, this is what I just think we also have to be critical in moments like this and say, what would you say if the Biden administration had signed this deal? I mean, what would you say, Kiarash? Right now, if it was 4 years ago and they had signed this deal, what would your reaction be?
It's the same for us, Jian. As an Iranian, what we want to see, again, time and time again, I will say this, is for the end of the Islamic Republic in its entirety. So whoever is getting in our way is a part of the problem. And what we're trying to convince the rest of the world of is that, listen, this problem is not just ours, it is yours as well. Again, you kick the can down the road, you have to deal with it eventually. So it doesn't matter if it's President Trump, President Biden, a wrong policy is a wrong policy regardless. And I find it quite ironic that, if I'm not mistaken, President Trump signed this MOU in Versailles. Correct? Am I right in that one?
Yeah.
So, for those interested in politics and history, what is the famous thing with Versailles? The Treaty of Versailles, right? Okay, end of the Great War. They had to deal with Germany, the same Germany that became Nazi Germany, and then they appeased it. It went on until they were forced to actually deal with the problem and left millions of people dead. Now, I'm not saying that the Islamic Republic poses the exact same threat to the rest of the world that Nazi Germany did during the 30s. But it's a very real threat that's similar because they will not reform themselves. This is a machine that understands only war, only violence, and only, as we say, zurgui or force. So, doesn't matter if it's President Trump, doesn't matter if it's a next presidency that's potentially Democratic or even Republican. I'm not hearing very good things from Vice President Vance. It's not very hopeful, the rhetoric that we're getting from the current American administration.
Yeah, I
So,
wouldn't say he's on side with a change in Iran. Kiarash, it's not just Iranians, by the way, that are, or many Iranians at least, that are disappointed or feeling a sense of betrayal. There's, Republicans, top Republican, Ted Cruz came out and
Yeah.
said this is a disaster. And talked about the billions of dollars to this regime. So um, I mean, from what some of my contacts are saying, this is about Trump himself. It's just impossible to say what. I mean, you're there in D.C., Shayan. What are you hearing from the political class in D.C., Iranian or otherwise?
You know, uh, I'm hearing frustration and a lack of clear design or plan for going forward. The biggest challenge, even the Republicans are saying this, that US administrations, Republican, Democratic, for the last 47 years had one major mistake regarding the Islamic Republic in Iran. They constantly wanted to manage the Islamic Republic instead of dealing with it head on. They constantly assessed their national interest and their national security interest and decided, hey, if we give them this opportunity and they give them this exit ramp, perhaps we could solve this problem at a later point. You look at it, JCPOA said in 10 years, we are hoping a new generation of leadership will be in Iran who will not want to pursue this. They had one big problem. They never thought that mullahs live beyond 70, 80, 90. You have that guy Jannati is like 100 years old and he's still in charge of one of the major institutions in Iran. So that is the biggest problem. That's on the side. What Kiarash Kian mentioned about Versailles and Trump's love to sign this deal there is Donald Trump is a product of TV. How did he become so popular? The Apprentice. You're fired. That's what Trump loves. He loves TV moments. He created a TV moment for himself. But when you have the likes of Ted Cruz or Josh Hawley or other US senators or Lindsey Graham who are criticizing the deal, and Ted Cruz saying, when Rob Malley is supporting this deal, you know there is something wrong with it. That means that this deal is going to crumble no matter how we want to slice it. However, we are not selling dreams here. The attempt of giving the Islamic Republic a lifeline is a mistake. The true meaning of helping the people of Iran, I hear what Picasso John is saying about some people saying, give us arms and we will handle this. A lot of factions within the US government and in the DC circles are coming to this conclusion that the only way to get out of this morass is to give people of Iran the ability to fight against the terrorist regime. That I'm not advocating for it. I'm just telling you what I'm hearing on the ground here, and that's what is causing trouble because at some later point, whether be it a President Rubio, a President Newsom, a President Vance, whoever, they will have to deal with this Islamic Republic issue again and again and again. So it is upon us to make life so difficult for these guys that they don't want to kick the can down the road, that they will want to grab the can, put it under their feet, and crush the crap out of it.
Let me try and turn it around. For with all that I've said, coming from my own heart or devil's advocate, as it may be, what if we turn it around and say what's the regime's end game here? I mean, you've all made the point that this deal is could crumble. It's not, it doesn't have the kind of sophisticated, protracted nature of the JCPOA. It's like it feels a lot more like something signed on a napkin, and it is only 60 days. So it's not some kind of a long-term deal. How do you believe the regime in Iran is the Islamic Republic regime, that is viewing this deal? Picasso, do you have any thoughts on that? And then Kiarash.
Well, that was the second part that I was waiting for you to ask, because you asked how we feel about it, how the people see it. But you see, actually, the Islamic Republic is not a government, it's a cartel. And now the big boss is dead. And there are so many couples which are like they're all fighting against each other. And there are so many offices which are now empty. There are so many seats which are empty. And right now, I'm looking at it. I mean, this MOU has started, how do you call, like a sort of a coup inside Iran. And Ghalibaf is like trying to take over. And we're not even sure if he can. He's trying. I'm sure that there will be some even assassinations, or there will be so many corruptions news leaking out, and they're like trying to get to expose that person or that general or that mullah or whatever. And there are a lot of things in Iran going on, and I'm not even sure if Ghalibaf survives it, because it's a very serious thing. There's so many. You see, we talk about IRGC, but IRGC is just a name, but it's a very complex and complicated thing. There are so many organizations in it, so many people, so many central powers, and all these things. You see, something has been melting, and now they have got it out of the oven, and they're waiting for it to cool down. And we don't know what comes out of it. Like this, you see, is like a samurai sword. And, it takes 9 months to craft a sword. And then when it's done, they take it out and they try to test it. And while swinging the sword, it might break. And they never know till they put it to the test. And this is exactly what's going on in the Islamic regime right now. We even don't know what's going on.
Sorry, you lost me with the sword. You lost me a bit with the sword analogy. Who's the sword? Or what's the sword in
the
this?
Islamic Republic right now.
I see.
You see, they have been hammering it. They have been hammering it. They're trying to manufacture a new thing, because imagine, is Mujtaba alive or not? We don't know. We certainly don't know. If he's not alive, how are they coming out? And how are you coming to, let the people know? If he's alive and you have not even heard anything from him, he might be even imprisoned, or he might be, being taken hostage, or he might be, you never know where he is and if he's still there or not. And you don't know if Ghalibaf is the main person or is somebody behind him. And all these things, we're talking about a country which, actually, we're talking about a cartel, and all these angry couples, which everybody now has a shot, just to get the throne.
But can I ask you a question, Picasso, very quickly? I don't want to hear, because I'm actually very curious to hear Kiarash's thoughts on where the regime is coming from on this deal. The IRGC, and I know you understand it very well, and you've got proximity both geographically and in terms of your contacts inside Iran to know its apparatus quite well. It's kind of a monolith, right? I mean, it's got its tentacles all over society. I ask this perhaps naively, but honestly, is it really relevant who's running the show in terms of like whether Mojtaba's alive or not, or whether Ghalibaf gets? It is.
Of course. Listen, it's all about money and power. You see, all these people, they're all working for their own
Well, we
pockets.
used to say that things were going to fall apart once the supreme leader is gone. That hasn't
Yeah.
happened yet, right?
We haven't given it a chance. Now the country's been all under the bombers, like the rockets were flying, and they were they were on defensive.
Right.
Now let it cool down, and then you will see these. I mean, you will definitely see cracks, major cracks on this body, and we haven't actually seen it yet because they never had the time. I
Okay.
mean, imagine if they're still sleeping on a bunker or like in a hospital or in a school, and they haven't been in there. I mean, nobody is still there. Even the economy has not started. The industry has not started. Now, all these gaps are going to show themselves.
Okay.
You
Okay.
see, right now, the
Okay, let
prices
me let me
of
let me stop you there because we just heard a lot from you. I appreciate that, Kiarash. Your thoughts on where you believe the regime is coming from on this deal and what you think it actually means to them.
I think they're just trying to buy time, as much time as they possibly can to be able to continue with their kleptocracy as much as they can. I agree with Mr. Picasso. This is a mafia state, so um, prior to it becoming about some ideological factor, they just want to steal as much money as they can. They see Iran as a launchpad for their projects and to enrich themselves. So that's what's going on. And for them, if you ask me what my personal belief is in the future, even if this somehow sticks, which funny enough, I do agree with Mr. Sami'i that it's not going to. I think that the Islamic Republic will eventually have to come into conflict again with the United States of America. And also, like on a side note, an MOU is not a legally binding international treaty, right? So it's a memorandum of understanding. It's basically just we agree to provisionally do something, but we'll see. Like even in international,
Even
law
when it
terms,
even when
it's
it's
not.
signed in Versailles.
Again, yeah, exactly. So it's not. I mean, it's not that like an international treaty itself would necessarily prevent everything, but this is a different topic on
Right.
how much you
Right.
believe in the concept of international law, right? But just by our bare bones definitions, an MOU is not legally binding. Okay, so um, I do also believe that it's going to crumble. That being said, let's assume the worst. Let's say that this actually sticks, that they somehow manage to shed their skin, which was their plan all along, to be able to go from this, ideological force of let's have this insane Islam and everyone has to suffer through it, to let's be cool about it. Let's be something like Turkey or Russia. You kind of have this like authoritarian state and less of a totalitarian state. And somebody like Ghalibaf has probably been scheming for many, many years. Uh, that being said, they will likely fall under their own weight because it's not sustainable. How they run this country, their finances, nothing is sustainable. Nothing makes sense. And Jian, to your earlier point of people previously thinking, yes, if you kill the head of the snake, then it's all going to be over. Obviously, that was a wrong understanding because they are so entrenched. And
It's not wrong, as you would know as a student of history. It's not wrong in general. It's usually, in fact, it's true that you killed the top guy and everybody else says, okay, we're done. Here's our arms. We're defecting, but it doesn't happen in the case of this regime.
that's exactly it. And it's because that, they're so entrenched in their power. And the divisions of this rentier state run so deep that this is a well-known fact. The IRGC as an apparatus, not solely as a military sort of militia, it owns well above 60 to 70% of Iran's economy. Basically, anyone that wants to do business has to go through these guys. So either you play ball with them or you have to get out. Right. And this is something that they've done over years. So today, there are many people that they don't talk the talk. They won't say, anything in favor of the regime, but behind the scenes, they're working with them for their own survival.
Yeah.
And I think what us as people that are trying to advocate for regime change, and obviously His Royal Highness Reza Pahlavi has been trying to say to not just Iranians but the rest of the world, is that if we get rid of these guys, don't worry, Iran's going to be a very prosperous place. We're going to have a lot to do economically. So we're trying to sort of disband this attachment of the people that are getting rents, as a rentier state is, to see a future that is more prosperous. But because of their ability to, or their willingness to kill as many people as they can, it's more difficult, or rather, it's easier said than done.
I had the occasion to have I traded messages with a friend inside Iran this morning, and they said they were feeling unhappy. This is somebody who's been quite active there, so and kind of deflated kind of talk. When somebody says, "Ma dighe badbakhti," this is like, this is going to be, we're stuck with these guys. This is not, they're not going anywhere. That type of thing. To somebody who's feeling that inside Iran and is listening to this right now, what do you say, Shayan? And you don't necessarily have to, it's not incumbent upon you to make them feel better. I mean, if you agree with them, you can say that too. But what would your message be to Iranians, both inside Iran or around the world, who are feeling a sense of betrayal, or we're stuck with here we're back to ground zero?
I sincerely disagree with the notion that we are badbacht. There is a plan. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi has a plan for a transition period for Iran. This is a setback because we need to align the world's national security interest to our national security interest. It is a matter of strategic communication. We have to take this matter to the decision makers of the world, going door to door in the halls of Congress in the United States and in the European Parliament, to make sure that these people feel it with their bones about the dastardliness of the regime and the best way to get rid of it. However, one thing we need to keep in mind is that all of us who are live outside the country, we have to make sure that we don't let disappointments lead to silence. Because the Islamic Republic loves to create two things: fear and silence. By executions on a daily basis, they are creating the fear. And by giving people the feeling of disappointment and the fact that, here, you thought America is going to come and save you. Here it is. You thought Pahlavi is going to come and save you. There it is. What happened? You're stuck with us, so you better shut up. That is wrong. And one final word, Jian. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. We have to make sure that our people know that, and we have to understand. Look at the way even ardent Republicans are attacking this Memorandum of Understanding. Even today, on Fox News, one of the biggest supporters of Donald Trump, Batia Angar, she was saying, if a Democrat had signed this, Republicans would have been calling until kingdom come. Therefore, we have to say this is a bad deal. President Trump has signed a worse than JCPOA deal, and we have to hold him accountable. So this internal debate within Republicans, I think, is going to have the effect that when we get to the end of the 60 days, everybody's going to say, oh, no, we can't deal with this. We got to go another route.
Okay. and the $300 billion won't have been released yet. We should hope, I suppose. Picasso,
I,
I mean, I'm being
300
sarcastic,
billion.
but
I know, no,
I'm
but
actually serious.
I know, but I want to correct the record that 300 billion is not a fund that is available, ready to go. It is part of an investment that each country or each entity
Understood.
can say,
Understood.
I
Yeah.
want to contribute to it.
Understood. Picasso, the same question to you about, I mean, maybe you're even hearing this from, probably are, from some of your followers or people inside Iran. If somebody says, we're stuck with these guys. We've seen this movie before and they're feeling deflated right now, you say what?
Well, I've heard this times and times before, and I've seen people rise again and again and again. Because the thing is that is true. We're stuck with it. I mean, people inside Iran are stuck with this government. I mean, they're sticking to it. I mean, like, they have no other choice, and they don't want it. So they're fighting to get rid of them, and this will just happen. I know. I try to calm them down and talk to them. Number one, not everybody feels that way.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, I feel the frustration, and I still try to talk to them, speak about this, and tell them that we still need to have hope because things are not over. Actually, as you said, it is part of a process, and things are going. Imagine this government or regime, what we're seeing, is definitely not the regime that we saw 6 months ago. You see, like where the Khamenei was still there, the proxies were like functioning, and they had thousands of missiles ready. And like we are facing a way, way weaker Islamic Republic right now, and things are not even over. And trust me when I tell you, people in Iran are in rage. So anytime things can escalate again, and you can see people rallying on the street.
A final question to all of you. How do you believe what do you believe the next steps for the diaspora should be? Or does this affect the equation at all? I don't have to tell you three that there are certain people in the diaspora who never supported intervention, who probably never, maybe on some level don't even support regime change, who are sort of taking a victory lap in social media over the last 24 hours. See, we told you, you guys were out there calling for intervention. Look what happened. This fractious nature of our diaspora is never helpful, but it always gets animated in moments like this. What do you all believe is the next step for the next move, given this, if this is a new reality to a certain extent, perhaps a temporary one, for the diaspora? Kiarash?
I think Mr. Samii has already said it. We got to continue with all of our efforts to convince the rest of the world that our interests align. I think those of us that live in free democratic societies have the responsibility to do this more than anybody else, because we actually, have the space to be able to get our voice out. So political advocacy, going on even, we talked about this before, Jian, even going on traditional media networks, despite our disappointment with them, and getting the true voice of the Iranian people out there. We have a very, very, very big responsibility. And matter of fact, those that are in Iran are looking to us because we are able to be their voice. So we can't just sit back and do nothing. We can't just sit back and be disappointed. Even if some people that are less politically inclined were willing to accept some sort of transitioning out of the Islamic Republic and have a sort of Putin or Erdogan situation, again, where, it's authoritarian instead of totalitarian, there is now too much blood between us and them. It's thankfully Iranians, unfortunately at a very high price, but thankfully Iranians have come to the conclusion that whatever your political leanings are, you can't just sit back. Okay, we can disagree about stuff later. We can decide what leadership we want, what type of, government we want and all that. But today, what's stopping us from even having our bare minimums is this regime.
Okay.
So that's, we have a very big role to play, and we should not take it lightly.
Shayan, does this give you any new thoughts about how the diaspora should be acting and reacting?
Yes, Jian. We need to have three things. We need to have a plan of strategic action, whereas we know how methodically we are going to approach this issue from the bottom up, not from the top to bottom. What do I mean? Let me give you a brief example. The issue of U.S. involvement in Afghanistan. It went on and on and on for years without any resolution. Then came General Stan McChrystal, and he said, we need to win the hearts and minds. We need to talk to different factions and different groups. And that was the breakthrough. That was what I mean by having a strategic plan of action. Number two, what we need is tenacity. We need to have the wherewithal to stick to a plan. We can't just get hot and cold every day, and we can't veer off from the plan because we don't like Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, or because we're afraid we're not getting our quote unquote fair share of something. And the last thing, we need the courage to dispel fear from our own hearts, and the courage to accept democracy is one, messy, two, the best option. In democracy, we're not going to get everything we want, but we have the right to say what we want and then let the majority make the decision. That's it.
Picasso, your thoughts on whether this is affects your thoughts about affects a plan of action in terms of the diaspora?
Well, we have to still continue to be the voice of the people inside Iran. And I can't actually add anything more to what Kiarash Kian and Shayan said. And yeah.
Okay.
But actually, Shayan said it all.
Shayan,
So,
it's difficult when Shayan's on the panel. He does say it all, and then we're left with the crumbs. If I could, just for fun, I mean, for fun and for education from all three of you, because I've been asking everybody this, and we intermittently now are doing World Cup panels. Your thoughts on Team Mali? I'm just out of curiosity.
why do you call it Team Mali?
Ah, well, that's
Again.
excellent. Okay, so you're. Oh God. Okay.
Well, at least if you want to use these words, still Team Mullah.
Well,
If
that's
you're
your
using
that
it,
fine, but I will tell you that there's a lot of there's a vibrant debate happening within the community on this. I'm running
no debates on it. I mean, I don't accept.
not for
anything.
you, but you come to my football house, you'll find people wearing Sheet Khorshid and cheering for the team. It's hard to figure it out sometimes, but there's a lot of different opinions on this. So your opinion is: are you even watching the games, Picasso, or you won't even watch?
You see, actually, I lost my entire interest in the last World Cup. And in the last World Cup, things were not even as bad as it is right now.
You lost your interest in in football or in Team Mullah, as you
Yeah,
call
I mean, no, about the World Cup, even
Okay.
because like right after Massa movement, and like they did go and play, and like things, FIFA tried to get the Shiro Khorshid flags out of the stadiums, and actually literally the players decided not to stand beside people,
yeah.
and then they went and all just got their cars and like shares of whatever they just like they were thrown at. So I pretty much lost it in the last World Cup, and this World Cup is way worse than that.
Okay.
And how, especially when we saw that most of the members of this team were rallying with supporters of the government, like at nights in different squares in Tehran. And when you see that the goalkeeper swears upon his supreme leader's, I don't know, whatever is remaining, like he's going to keep oh, come on. I mean, this is very obvious that this is not our team. And somebody said, I mean, some blogger, which, I mean, yeah, she said, like, oh, forget that, like at 20 years from now, people are not going to talk about whose team it was. You're talking about Iran. No. All these souls that we lost, all these thousands of people we killed a few months ago. People will remember them forever. And imagine, like, not
where were you on my panel when I was alone making these arguments on Monday with the three guys two of which went to the game with Jian Ghomeshi, but they ended up supporting cheering for the team. I mean,
I understand the excitement.
You have to concede it's complicated. It is complicated. Sorry, Kiarash, your thoughts on? Are you watching the World Cup and are you supporting the team?
Of course, I'm not supporting the Islamic Republic's team. It would be, a disservice to the people, and I will stand by this. There's many athletes that have been arrested, executed, killed in the streets. You've heard of Rashid Mazahiri, right? He's a former goalkeeper for Team Melli. And he's right now arrested, probably in Evin or somewhere being tortured by the Islamic Republic's mercenaries and thugs. So I can't do it. When Mohibi scored his goal against New Zealand, what did he do? This sort of gun gesture towards all the Iranian fans.
Apparently he does that. Apparently he does that at the end of whenever he scores. That's his thing. That's what I've been told.
Okay, let's make an excuse for that. Let me retract.
I mean, that wouldn't be an excuse if that's his celebration. That would be just what he does. Because I brought this up on Monday as well, but that's what I was told.
Okay, fine. We can just say it's distasteful, but sure. Mazahiri is a great example, and many other players, mind you, throughout the history of Team Melli that were essentially put aside because of their support of the people. I mean, even back in the day where it wasn't even about, if you remember with the Green Movement, right, where Ali Karimi and many other players, they wore the green wristbands, right, to support the people. And at the time, people weren't shouting Javid Shah, right, by the millions. It was still kind of in their field, so to say, right? But still, the reaction was like, no, you're out. And
but Kiarash, does it surprise you that, did it surprise you that you probably know? I don't know if you know people who went to the LA game. I do, and they said that there were lots of Jian Ghomeshi everywhere, etc. But they said the majority of the people there were cheering on the team.
I don't know. Look, it's not my place to.
And they have their reasons. Like they'll say. Team Melli has existed for thousands of years. You can't associate it with, the regime, or they'll say separate politics from sports. Or, I mean, people make, there's people actually making what they would consider sophisticated arguments for their decisions, and it is ultimately a personal decision. But I'm curious when you hear that thousands of Iranian fans Iranians who went to the LA Stadium, the SoFi, and even carrying the Jian Ghomeshi were cheering on the team. I'm curious your reaction.
I think they're well-intentioned people. I mean, especially if you're carrying a Jian Ghomeshi with you despite FIFA's sort of ban, right? And showing the rest of the world that, no, this is us. We are not that flag and what it represents. We're not that regime. And of course, look, in the bottom of our hearts, I think we all want Iran to do well, right? However, it's a bit lethargic to have this view and sort of blindly say, no, this is still like, separate politics from sports and whatnot. I agree with that statement in general, but this team is necessarily political because you're not allowed to be on the national team unless you're doing the bidding of the regime, unless you go to their events, unless many of their players have had posts on their social media with their big following of their so-called Rahbar, of Khamenei and
I would make the argument that it was a little less clear 4 years ago in the middle of Zanzibar Ghazi where the players stood and stuff. It's quite clear at this point. Everybody has to, whether they're forced to or not, has signed on to has drunk the Kool-Aid, if you will. Shayan, your view. I know you are a football fan, so where are you sitting right now?
Jian, we may be out of Iran, but Iran has never left our hearts. So we all have an affection for Iran. And this team has a name association with Iran. So it brings up some national pride for everybody. I for the life of me cannot understand why some people would go and cheer this team, this particular team, especially the likes of the CEO of Uber, who is of Iranian heritage and wears this team's jersey and goes to SoFi Stadium.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm calling out Dara Khosrowshahi, definitely. And secondly, I asked this question. The other day, Mehdi Taremi said, we're only here to play for the people of Iran. We want to make people of Iran happy. Really? Today, Mohammad Mohebbi, outside their hotel, there was a poster that said Woman, Life, Freedom, and a picture of Mahsa Amini on it. They have taken pictures of him, ripping that off the wall and throwing it in the trash bin. So that basically means these guys are stooges of the Islamic Republic.
Wow.
They are not representatives of the people of Iran. If Taremi, the captain, is saying, we are here to make the people of Iran happy, and then they tear a symbol of Iranian women's movement.
There's a video of that? I haven't seen that yet. Yeah.
There are pictures.
Wow.
There are pictures of it. And
apparently that's something he does after every goal, though.
Touche. But the fact of the matter remains that, Jian, I say this with all my heart, that all of us want the Iranian people to succeed. And this bunch of people, this bunch of individuals, they are not representatives of Iran. I give you one more thing. Last night there was a game between Ghana and I think
Panama.
I cheered for Carlos Queiroz when they scored a goal because I was like, yeah, this guy didn't get what he deserved from this idiot soccer federation. So now he's getting his due respect, and his people are giving him the love. So that's what I mean, that when you dissociate from the people, people feel that.
I think something that you said, Shayan, that's so profound is that this team, it doesn't just conjure up sort of national memory sentiments. It's there's memories interwoven into this team, into this idea of this team. We all know, I bet you guys know, I know where I was in 2022, in 2018, in 2014, in 2010. I can go back to 1998 and where I was when Iran won against the United States. And so it's kind of like for some people, I think it's like saying, no, you can't eat Fesenjoon anymore. Fesenjoon represents it. And it's like, well, but I really love Fesenjoon, and that's part of my history is eating Fesenjoon. And so, because I see it in people, I see it in well-intentioned people who are struggling with this or who are just saying, look at this one, I'm with you on everything else, but now this one, I got to cheer for the team. That's my thing. And I'm not sure if I can take that away from them. I was at my this football house that we have, and I was watching a woman, like literally she was wearing Shir Khorshid, she'd created a Shir Khorshid shirt and had a flag, But she was cheering for the team, and I was thinking, is it really my place to say, no, you can't cheer for that team? I mean, if that's what you feel and that's what you want and you need to do, and and you can separate them somehow, even if I cannot. I've said
This is where I say we need to have a plan of strategic action. This is when we need to educate our population that you have to separate your desires and feelings for the country from this bunch of people who are advocating for the sustainment of the current regime. There is a separation, there is a definition, and we need to educate the public for that. I don't disregard the love for soccer and for football and for people to have an affinity for their country, but when a group of individuals are not representative of the people, you need to call them out. You need to remind them that this is not it. Jian, let me give you another example. I remember I was 6 or 7 years old when the Iran national squad went to the World Cup in, I believe it was 1976, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember my uncle took me early in the morning to go to the roadway that led to Mehrabad Airport to just see the bus come and pass by. I still remember. I even remember what I was wearing that day.
The same suit, probably. I've never seen you without that suit.
Actually, it was short sleeve and shorts, but that's okay. But my point is, you have an embedded memory of football and Iran.
Yes.
But this group, this guy, okay, we want to give it that this was his shtick. Okay, fine. But the mere fact of ripping off Mahsa Amini and woman life freedom, what part of woman life freedom do you not agree with?
I have a question.
Yes.
Imagine if we brought 20 Irish soccer player and we gave them, like this t-shirts and this, like, okay, you know what? You go and play as Iranian national team. How would the people feel about it? Would they still go and cheer? You see, we have been living in this situation. I don't know if you saw.
That does happen to a certain extent, Picasso, as you know.
I know.
The game is very international. I mean, the guy who just scored for the U.S. 2 goals the other day spent 2 months in the U.S. But anyway.
If the whole team, you see, we saw when this team was introduced, they came in, I don't know, Meidune what, in Tehran, and there were like all these, all these Rozekhuns and people, hardliners, and they cheered for them and they shouted, I don't know, like Zindabat Jumhuriya Islami and whatever. And how could we see all these and still be able to support this particular team? I understand that people, as Shayan said very well, people's heart goes with Iran and anything which has anything to do with Iran. And I understand the excitement of football, and a live match, a World Cup, all of it. But I still understand some people come up with stupid, like things like, they have to, otherwise they will no more be part of TMLE. What about those people who took their life and went on the street and they got shot? If you think about it, I think we have to, as Shayan said, we have to let people, we have to talk to people. We have to let them know.
I just would, on this one, I would just say it really is complicated. I mean, I'm not saying that to excuse anyone, but people have very sophisticated kind of, I mean, the number of people who told me about, for example, what happened in Los Angeles was when they unfurled the Islamic Republic flag, there was booing. When they played the anthem of the Islamic Republic, there was booing. But when the team scored, there was cheering. So, and there were people sitting around like Sina and Othbeen and people that came on our show right after that. So they were saying, I'm sitting next to someone who boos the anthem, but is cheering for the team. So that person has made distinctions in their mind, right? I agree. The dialogue is important, but it's and by the way, if Iran somehow advances, I don't think they will. But if this will get even more complicated, I think, if the Islamic Republic team advances.
If they advance, the amount of propaganda that will and leverage they will give to the Islamic regime.
Yes.
Imagine that they're using this football team as a leverage, as a tool to come up and spread this message of Islamic Republic and we're still there. And if their success counts as the success of Mujtaba Khamenei, I don't want to be part of it. Personally.
Guys, I appreciate you. I've kept you so long. Kiarash, did you want to? Were you chomping at the bit there?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I know. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Listen, I gotta get this out. Okay, it's emotional manipulation on the part of the regime. Okay, because the same regime whose founder insisted that Iran is just an Islamic nation and the Iranian identity is useless. The same organization that doesn't even have the name Iran in it. It's the Islamic Revolutionary Guardian Corps. The entire regime, the entire entity was like, no Islam, no Iran, boo. Khalkhali was trying to destroy the tomb of Cyrus the Great, so on and so forth. Basically since the time of Rouhani, and especially so since the 12-Day War, in the most recent war, suddenly they become Iranian. Suddenly they realize that, despite whatever we've tried over the past couple of decades, people in Iran are still deeply nationalistic, right? Damn those Pahlavis, they got away with it. But, here we are. So now they're trying to manipulate this issue. And now they're trying to present themselves as, no, this is, when Israel and America attack, this is against all of Iran, not just against us. When Iran's national team is playing, they want to say that this is Iran, it's not the Islamic Republics. As long as there's that IR before Iran, and these broadcasters insist that it's the Islamic Republic of Iran, it's really the Islamic Republic versus Iran. You don't have an Iranian team, you don't have a country. As it stands, Iran is an occupied country. And this is no exception. So trying to manipulate people's feelings and early memories, it was great. And Mr. Sami'i had a wonderful memory with him and his uncle watching the bus go by. And
short sleeve shirt.
Everything, all together. Like, we have so many good memories. But you know what? Once upon a time, we had real people, real men like Ali Karimi, Ali Dai, people that actually were with the people, despite it still being the Islamic Republic. But they showed it, they proved it. So they merited the love and respect of the people. It's not a something you just make out of thin air, right? It's, if you're a national team, you're supposed to be for the nation, not for some terrorist occupiers. So this is, sorry, I had to
Thank you. No, I appreciate you wanted to get that out. There is an answer. There is a way out of this for you three, by the way, which is to join me in cheering for Team England. Come on, England! You'll have a lot of excitement.
By the way, I love how you got the Arsenal thing out.
Team England. I've got my jerseys lined up, and by the way, it's a great experience cheering for England. It's euphoric, it's exciting, it's exhilarating until the semifinals when we choke. So just you'll enjoy it for a few.
Canada will win. Canada will win the World Cup. I can feel it.
Well, we love Canada as well, of course. We're hoping Canada. If we get to the second round, that means something. Guys, I've kept you here so long. Thank you for your insights. Thank you for your integrity and the way you present your positions. All three of you, I really appreciate you, and hope to do it again soon. Really appreciate the time you put in today. Merci for this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Bye bye.
Yeah.
Oof. Quite a panel. Thank you to Kiarash, to Shayan, to Picasso. It's interesting. On 2 days ago, on Tuesday, we had a World Cup panel, the football panel, and two of the guys on the panel had gone to the game in Los Angeles and I was going to say confessed. That sounds like I'm judging them. And told us that they supported Team Melli. They were cheering this team wanting them to win. And now we just had a panel here with three guys who are saying they most definitely are not cheering for Team Melli or Team Mullah, as Picasso knows them. So we're gonna have to blend these two, Paris, and get some of these, cross-pollinate them so that we can get some different opinions on the same show, and I don't have to take the opposite position every time, since the panel is united. And with regards to the MOU, that was some interesting conversation too. Listen, if you have anything to say about what you just heard on this panel, or you want to give us feedback in general, or even say nice things to us, info@roqemedia.com is where to find us. info@roqemedia.com is the email address for anything related to us. And of course, you can post your opinions and thoughts, as you do, on any of our platforms. Take into consideration we are on YouTube and on Apple and Spotify and SoundCloud and Castbox and Telegram, and of course on Instagram. And pop by the Roqe Football House if you can. This is full time for the. No, it's okay. Go ahead, play it. This is full time for Roqe for today. Thanks to the amazing core team who put this show together twice a week right now. Super Paris Sanjirani, Tina Fatahi, the photo and video queen, and Savvy Roham Meher. Special thanks to Smart Pega, Charming Kimia, Talented Anihita, Methodical Kaveh, and the Rising Kian, all of whom are working on Roqe Live 6, which is coming to the Richmond Hill Center for the Performing Arts July 18th, a month from today. Tickets are available now. Link to it from our bio on Instagram. Thank you to all of you for supporting us and sharing our content. Do subscribe if you haven't done so already on any or all of our platforms. You can find us on Instagram at Roqe Media. You can find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi. And as ever, Mizun Bashi.